the longer your wood sits out unclean, when I mean clean, I mean get down past that sapwood. You see it's just crap here, and you see it's beating the heck out of the teeth. They're starting to make lines, and they're actually starting to tear material. But I'll see how it's cutting today with this. I've been working on this, and you saw, or you will see, where that gouge started tearing and it started filling up. You can actually see where this guy has taken some actual hammering, some abuse. The teeth are starting to get hammered and chipped on this. I don't know if you can see them real good, but there's a bunch of chips on that. What's happening is these are plugging up, especially on this wet. This is actually wet wood. This piece sat outside all summer and most of the fall. But I was carving on this, and I'm going to see if I can fill it again. Because what's happening is it's starting to, because there's still wet spots in this stuff, this is the wood. I told you guys we went over this. The longer your wood sits out unclean, when I mean clean, I mean get down past that sapwood. You see it's just crap here, and you see it's beating the heck out of the teeth. They're starting to make lines, and they're actually starting to tear material. Anyway, you see what's happening here? That's your signs of extreme moisture problems, moisture retention. Not even that it gets wet. It's wet all the time, and it's trying. It's not even drying out. It's got a fungus in it, so that fungus is living off that wetness and loving it. It's like a big petri dish for a fungus. You know, this thing's been sitting inside for a couple months now, and it still hasn't dried out. And on the outside, it's mostly dry in the middle. And I can tell because when I get into the middle of it, it's really good wood and it carves real easy. But I'll see how it's cutting today with this. Alright, so it's cutting better. I can still feel a lot of moisture right there, and you can see it. You see where it's dark? That's soaking wet. And I mean, this has been sitting in here where there's a fan. It's been sitting in the barn out in the colder part of the barn. It's been in the colder part of the barn, but it's still been inside under cover where it should be drying out. That's soaking wet right there still. You want to have a piece done, and you want it, what it is, it's real sticky, so it's sappy. It's wet sappy. This is why I say, this is where you know, if my choice in this wood is to get rid of that much of the log if it's in this condition, because then you're getting down to the better stuff, and your chances of having this type of deal is a lot less. And that's just less time you're going to be fussing with it, moving it around, headaching over it, trying to dry it out, having it crack massively over and over again. This piece is highly unstable, and it's taking a lot of time and effort to get it to stabilize. I'm trying to get pieces stuck in there. That caught. That is exactly what I was talking about right here. Okay, that's your crap wood right there. It peels back, it furs up, it splinters, little pieces of that when they wad up and they get stuck in those teeth. That's what starts to jam this machine up. Now you can see it right there if I don't move this thing. You see these teeth are taking a beating, they're getting chipped, and you see right there wood's already starting to stick to this thing. It gets jammed in there, and you see what happens. It gets down in there, and the tooth hits the back of it and breaks it off, but it gets jammed in there. You see? That's cool. There's another one. And you see sawdust starts to build up in here. This is the beginning of these things jamming up on you. So that's what you want to watch for, because you see there's another. That's where it begins. Maybe they get in there, and the wood folds. You see where it folded? It's stuck in there. Right? See, it curls back and folds. It gets stuffed in there. See exactly that. Hitting this stuff is going to jam that tool up. Especially if you don't flip I got to flip the blades in that. But this here, this is that ArborTech. And this is your difference in your teeth. I've actually put this through more abuse than I have that. And it's held up a lot better. Because this little disc here, that's over $100. That whole unit was $100, pulley and belt included. I like the two together because you can do this kind of gougey, kind of chisel carved look on the fur appearance. But this is a lot faster than using a hand chisel, and it's actually, for me, it's faster than using a saw. I still do go with the saw here and there. I still do go in with the saw here and there in corners, and you know, tool up in an instant. So that's where I love this tool. I love these tools because I've worked in the tree care industry, and a lot of my job on those tree crews, any tree crew I've gone on, primarily, I'm a groundy at heart. There's the eyes. So my experience in and around the tree care industry has been with large, huge versions, massive versions of carbide teeth on a big cutting wheel. I've got years running stump grinders and all kinds of machinery that uses implements like that, and I've always loved the stump grinder. It's a big, you know, the wheel, the thing weighs like probably 200 or 300 pounds on a standard stump grinder. The actual wheel and the teeth mounted to it. It's heavy. It's a thick chunk of metal, and it's got big teeth that stick way up and they're round like on these things. They're just like these, but they stick up. They stick up past the wheel, and the way that they're staggered so that they actually cut smooth as that thing spins, and once it gets going, nothing will stand in its way. Rocks, tree, stumps, that thing will just keep going until you bury it so far that the belt is spinning, or that, you know, eventually if it's a hydraulic one, it'll stop. Hydraulic ones are slower. But my whole thing is that running stump grinders, I always said, you know, and years ago, a buddy of mine, that he bought a stump grinder for a chainsaw. They actually make them. Timber Pro might make them, or something like Timber Wolf. It's a head, and it's pretty heavy. You know, it's probably 20-30 pound metal disc, and it has a carbide harvester chain. They tighten in with Allen bolts, and they're big. They're just big chainsaw teeth, and they're made out of carbide. And I think there's 8 or 9 of them on that thing. Those are cool. And I saw him, he was making a huge bowl with his out of a big slab cut off of wood. And I was like, man, I gotta get one of those. And that was around the time that all these gouges, I started seeing them coming out. I've always wanted one, but I never actually needed it, or could afford it until now. Gouges are great, but see, there's your kind of crap wood. This is where the gouge gets full and it's folding over, and you're getting wetness dragged in. It does, you know, but a chainsaw might do the same thing. So there's a couple tips for you on your saw types. Your saw, you know, we've been over saws, about the saws than I am about the carving, unfortunately. But that being said, all right, thanks for hanging out, guys.